asking her to let us go to a hospital and stop whatever it was that she was doing. Her response was completely unexpected.
I'm sorry, honey, but you can't leave. If you go to the hospital, they're going to know that I've been slowly poisoning you both. I need you both to die.
I couldn't believe my ears. My dad looked pale himself.
Why? Why are you doing this?
I heard you, idiot. I heard you telling your lawyer to give all your properties to this stupid child of yours. What about Sasha and I? What do we get? What are you gonna get if you kill us, Steph? You're a good person. Don't let greed control you, please.
Oh, darling. I was never a good person. I came in here with the sole purpose of inheriting your dad's company after his death. Him willing everything to you just made me strike earlier than planned.
We were hurt and felt betrayed. Hi there, my name's Abby, and I managed to escape being killed by my stepmom and her daughter. I know you're curious as to how they wanted to kill me and how I managed to escape. I'll tell you. But first, a little backstory. I lost my mom around age 16. At first, it was just a mild back pain and headaches, until she began passing out constantly. She'd assured us that she was fine.
It's just stress. I'll take a few days off until I'm better.
We all believed her. My mother worked very hard with my dad to keep the company going. She was allowed to rest as much as she wanted. My grandparents ensured to take care of her, and I did the same whenever I was home. However, there was no progress even after 3 weeks. A month later, and my mom was suddenly paralyzed. She was immediately rushed to the hospital where she was diagnosed with a brain tumor. My dad was broken, my grandparents devastated, and I couldn't even point out what I was feeling. She needed immediate surgery according to the doctor. My dad didn't delay. Everything happened so fast. Before I knew it, I was holding my mom's hand in tears as they wheeled her to the theater room. None of us could sleep throughout the hours the surgery took. All we wanted to hear was good news, but the universe had a different plan for us. And the doctors finally walked out of the theater room with sad faces and informed us that the surgery had gone well, but my mom didn't make it out alive. We all broke into tears. I felt my world crumble as I watched my grandmother faint, and my dad and grandfather shaking as they cried. It was the saddest day of my life. Well, we buried her a few days later and mourned for years. I felt so bad for my dad. He rarely spoke anymore and only focused on work and ensuring that I and my grandparents were doing well. Oftentimes, I would see him in the living room, crying when he thought everyone was asleep. Even after 4 years, he still missed his wife so much. I wanted him to be fine. I wanted him to feel loved, the way my mom would have loved him if she were still alive. So I advised him to find another woman. At first, he thought I was crazy and didn't know what I was saying. But soon, after I talked to him so many more times, he realized I was right. He needed company. He introduced Steph to the family 1 year after. I encouraged him to move on. Steph was a young, stunning woman and seemed kind. My dad had brought her home and she prepared dinner for the family. She had a beautiful smile and was super kind to my grandparents. I could see how she handled them with care. I guess it was her plan to gain our trust. She did succeed. After visiting twice more, she'd gotten our hearts. We saw her as a lovable person and supported her relationship with my dad. About 3 months later, we were introduced to her daughter, Sasha. Steph had cried after we accepted her daughter. According to her, she'd thought we would hate her for it. She was so pitiful that we were all fooled. 2 months after she introduced Sasha to us, Steph and my dad got married. I was particularly excited because of Sasha. She was only 2 years older than me, so I felt we could be best friends. However, she didn't seem like who was a talker. She often kept to herself and only smiled and gave few words when spoken to. I soon concluded that we couldn't be what I had envisioned, but we were still cool. I was still in college when Steph and my dad got married. She and her daughter officially moved into our house in the day of the wedding. It felt good having more people. My dad had wanted Steph to be a full-time housewife so she could look after his parents, but she disagreed. I knew because I overheard them discussing it 2 nights after their wedding.
I never told you I wanted to stay home. I want to work with you. I want to help in the company. You know how much I love to work.
I reasoned with her. It wasn't going to be fun being home all day. We had 2 maids who looked after my grandparents. I thought it was enough. Before stepping away, I heard my dad agree with her. Steph joined the company as the vice president. I didn't like it at first, seeing that it was the position which my mom had occupied when she was alive. But I reminded myself that she was gone and Steph was married to my dad now. Everything was going smoothly until 2 years later, when I finished college. I was 23 then. Steph was still her good self, and her daughter was barely home. She worked as a flight attendant. After graduation, I was ready to join my dad's company. He'd always told me to prepare for when I'll join. I was happy that it was finally time. However, Steph seemed to have other plans.
Abby doesn't have any working experience. I don't think it's advisable to bring her in just yet. Let her get a job somewhere else and she can come in.
But the position I prepared for her is vacant.
Well, Sasha can be there until Abby is ready. She quit her job yesterday and is currently jobless.
I'd thought it was absurd at first, but Steph had managed to convince me that it was better to have experience first, so I'd be able to manage the whole company someday. Of course, I'd accepted. The woman had a very sweet way of being manipulative, but I wasn't aware yet. Neither was my dad. A month later, I suddenly fell sick at the same time my dad did. We were both having serious abdominal pain that felt like it was going to claim our lives. We wanted to go to the hospital, but Steph refused.
I'll just bring my personal doctor to check you both.
We agreed. In fact, we were grateful to her. During the days we had to be treated at home, she did well handling the company and also finding time to help us. That made me love and trust her even more. We got better and went back to our lives. However, the abdominal pain returned after 2 months. It was worse than the first. Again, Steph brought her doctor to treat us. It stopped, but came back again after another 2 months. The pain was nearly unbearable. We badly wanted to go to the hospital, but Steph refused. We couldn't argue. We were too weak to argue. Our treatment lasted longer than the previous ones. Our recovery was also slow.
I think you both need to stop working for now. Sasha and I will handle the company and any other thing. I need you both to stay at home until you're better.
We agreed that she was right. We couldn't work in such condition. My dad wasn't worried about leaving the company in her care. She was doing a good job anyway. We stayed at home, hoping to be better in a few weeks. Unfortunately, whenever we felt better and ready to return to work, the pain would return again. After 3 months, my dad and I had become lean. We'd also become weak that we needed to use wheelchairs for movement. My grandparents advised us to visit a hospital, but we couldn't. Not after Steph assured us that her doctor knew what he was doing. When we only got worse, I told my dad that we needed to visit a hospital. When we told Steph, she flared up.
Why can't you listen to me, you idiots? You're going to no hospital, got it?
I was shocked at her words. What even shocked me more was when she seized everyone's phones, including the maids, and threatened us with a gun. She also began locking us in whenever she and Sasha left for work. We immediately knew something was wrong and we needed to seek help. We had no means of communication or escape. My dad confronted her one night, asking her to let us go to a hospital and stop whatever it was that she was doing. Her response was completely unexpected.
I'm sorry, honey, but you can't leave. If you go to the hospital, they're going to know that I've been slowly poisoning you both. I need you both to die.
I couldn't believe my ears. My dad looked pale himself.
Why? Why are you doing this?
I heard you, idiot. I heard you telling your lawyer to give all your properties to this stupid child of yours. What about Sasha and I? What do we get? What are you gonna get if you kill us, Steph? You're a good person. Don't let greed control you, please.
Oh, darling, I was never a good person. I came in here with the sole purpose of inheriting your dad's company after his death. Him willing everything to you just made me strike earlier than planned.
We were hurt and felt betrayed. The doctor stopped coming to treat us. We were hopeless, and no one was allowed to leave the house. We were all locked up inside. Well, until one of the maids revealed that she had a second phone, which Steph didn't know about.
You've all been good to me. I can't watch Mrs. Steph kill you all.
We were grateful. Immediately, I called my aunt who lived nearby. I explained everything to her and asked her to come to the house with police when Sasha and Steph were home. Once we made our plans, I returned the phone to the maid, and she hid it again. Mother and daughter returned home, but we pretended like nothing had happened. Later that night, while they were both upstairs in Sasha's room, my aunt and the police burst into the house. Luckily, the police had came without the noise of their sirens, and the security guard had let them in as he saw my aunt. Steph and her mother jumped out through Sasha's window as they heard the police. Immediately, they chased the two women. According to the police, they both ran so fast and had to be shot in their legs to stop them. While both of them were taken to the station, my dad and I received treatment in the hospital. According to the doctor, the poison had ate deep into us. One more strike from Steph and we could have died. We spent a month at the hospital before getting discharged. During that 1 month, Steph and her daughter were charged with attempted murder by poisoning. They also had to face the court for keeping us hostage in the house for weeks. During their stay in the police station, mother and daughter had confessed that they'd poisoned us through the special family dinner we always had every 2 months. I remembered when Steph suggested it. I'd been so happy that our family would have a tradition, unknowing that it was a way to kill us slowly. Well, since Steph, who was now paralyzed and moved with the help of a wheelchair as a result of the gun wound on her leg, was the main orchestrator of everything, she was given a life sentence with hard labor. Her daughter got 10 years and 2 years community service after release. Sasha's wound hadn't healed properly, so she had to support herself with crutches. My dad and I recovered and began working again. I took over as the vice president. We didn't forget about what Steph and Sasha did, but we never talked about it. 8 months later, we heard about Sasha's death. Apparently, her wound had gotten seriously infected and refused to heal. The leg had to be amputated, but Sasha died 2 months later after the amputated leg also got infected. We also heard that Steph lost her sanity after hearing the news. She'd lost everything. She started acting like she was mad, talking to herself while walking. Not long after, people noticed and she was taken to a mental care facility, where she still stays. Regardless, my dad and I were happy, and that was all that mattered. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our best to reply to your comment.